everybody. This week I am very fortunate to be spending my time in Dorset, England, and I'm actually here for a woodworking show on the weekend, but I had 2 days to kill, so my good friend Jamie and Rihanna invited me into their workshop to do a little bit of sawdust making. What are we building today, guys?
So today we're going to build a couple of stools. It's a project that Rihanna designed a while back, and I've done it a lot for demonstrations at the shows and things, but it's a fun one to do, so yeah. Be nice, something for you to take home with you as well. Yes, it's a good keepsake. Jamie and Rihanna, they're cabinet makers, but just all around amazing woodworkers. So I'm very fortunate to just take on a new project and get to learn something. So let's dive into it. Let's go. So what we're looking to build is one of these stools here, out of the timber that I've currently got. So I'm going to get my 4 legs out of these pieces, and it's all going to be cut to length using the crosscut sled on the work centre. And then these pieces here are going to do all the cross-section framework underneath and in between. And then we're going to use the duo doweler to dowel all the joints, and then it's just going to be glued and clamped together.
Like Jamie said, we're going to be using the work center with the table saw module inside of it for this entire project, as well as the crosscut sled. Now Jamie's making his stool from beech and I'm making mine from ash. And if you're interested, there are plans available for this stool, so I will leave you a link down below. After cutting all of the legs to size, I moved to cutting in the half lap at the top of the legs. And this can be pretty tricky since the leg is at an angle. So Jamie created a jig to make cutting in this half lap pretty easy. And since they don't have dado stacks over in Europe, we cut these out making single passes with a table saw blade. Oh man, one thing I loved about working in a British workshop was the hospitality. I love having tea in the middle of the day. Something Jamie did that I thought was super interesting was before getting started he sketched out the stool design on a scrap piece of board, and we referred to this several times throughout the entire build, and I was really surprised at just how handy it was. With all of the pieces now cut to length, Jamie removed the cutoff that we were using as a workbench so that I could flip the jaws around and we can use it as just a regular clamp to hold all of these pieces in place and come back with a chisel to clean them up. Grabbing a scrap just to do a quick test fit. Next was to start cutting in the half flaps for those bottom horizontal pieces that go in between the bottom of the legs. Again, using the template here just to make sure that we were marking where the half lap needed to go on the correct side of the piece before actually cutting it. Then once again, use the work center and crosscut sled to cut in this half lap. And if you're interested, there will be a how-to video on making this crosscut sled, so I'll link that down below when it's available. Now that all of the base components are cut to size and all the joints cut in, we did a little bit of sanding with the palm belt sander before assembly. Once everything was nice and sanded, then we moved on to gluing and assembling. After letting those set up overnight, we came back with the palm belt sander again to flush up all of those joints. Next, we cut in the holes for the dowels to connect the base to the legs, which, as Jamie said in the beginning, we are using the dual doweler on all of the joints. However, since 2 dowels aren't needed, Jamie just removed 1 bit. So we're doing a single dowel on the dual doweler. And I'm gonna have to use this one a little bit more often, because it was really nice how the connections were hidden, but it was also very strong. After marking the locations in the legs where the dowels needed to be drilled, took it over to the super jaws and used the doweler. With all of the dowel holes drilled, now we could glue and insert the dowels and then start assembling the base to the legs, or I guess the legs to the base.
It looks like a Johnny Five.
Yeah.
You know Johnny Five the robot?
Yeah.
And what we're going to look at doing is getting some glue in here. We're going to screw and fix the top, this one down through is what I do, and then we can focus on getting the bottom really clamped up.
Awesome.
Yep, like Jamie said. Next was to glue in that top cross member, which we did by pre-drilling and then countersinking some screws. Setting aside the base to dry, we started making the tops. First cutting the boards to length and then doing a glue up. After letting the tops fully dry, then we came back and started doing the cleanup work, which gave me the opportunity to use one of the brand new tools Triton just came out with.
Oh.
This is a 4-inch belt sander, and it's nice having a wider belt because it was just very easy to keep the machine flat while sanding.
That does a great job.
Last things for the tops before assembly, cutting in a slight degree on all 4 edges. And one thing I really liked about Rhiannon's design is that the angles here oppose one another. Oh, I'm sorry, I lied. The very last thing to do before final assembly is to do one last sanding, just to soften up the edges on the top before actually putting it on. But then we centered the base of the stool onto the top and secured it using screws, which we countersunk and then filled in with wooden plugs. And that's it. Ta-da!
So I think that this is an amazing project because once you understand the structure on how the frame is put together, you can really implement it in a bench, a tabletop, anything, right?
Yeah.
So this was a great project. Thank you so much for having me in your shop, guys. Sharing the space. If you're anywhere near the Dorset, Somerset area, definitely look these guys up if you're looking for custom work, cabinet making, furniture making, and even woodworking classes, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I will leave you a link to their website down below. And that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. All right, that's a wrap. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.